Roxy. It is the return of our favorite special needs lolly demon, Roxy McGirdia. From smelling like ew to Rudy, it's more like Hitogami has warned Rudy that going to Beggar It would be something that he will regret, and now we can totally see where it can go sideways. Spoiler warning guys, of Mushoku Tensei Season 2, Episode 21, Magic Circles of the Sixth Stratum. It's a long time coming of Rudy and Roxy's building relationship, from master to student to nubile to Doronuma. It's kind of crazy that about a 2-year span of Roxy teaching Rudy only lasted about 4 episodes. Episode opens with what we were all wondering: how the hell did Roxy survive for so long? After being teleported and ditched by a gray rat and his crew, Roxy is relentlessly walking through a cave with monsters crawling everywhere, wanting to eat her guts out, threatening every fear, paranoia you may have, like being plastered on the wall by white stuff. Roxy marks the walls to make sure she could track her new life of a lolly running away from her monster predators. Roxy runs away and runs away from the wretched labyrinth that keeps teleporting her everywhere within the stratum, only to end up at X marks the spot. Again, and again. This labyrinth is a lolly's worst nightmare, as the predators are itching closer and closer with their monster brain NPC minds coded into their very predator being of terror. This lolly is near her wit's end, and is only a matter of time before... There, the lolly looks at a glowing teleporter and her fatigue starts to set in.
I have a dream to yell at horny little students that keep objectifying me. I have a dream and my villagers will stop judging me for my demon autism, and I can be happy like my mother and father.
I'm gonna fucking die, but screw it.
One more again. Shinitake-nayo!
And it was here where the last episode left off, where we witnessed the great, rudest Doronuma Great Rat do what he does best: save every ass he wants to add to his body count. And because he has a special bond with his lolly Shisho, Roxy, the special needs demon. The Doronuma couldn't help but think with his littler Doronuma and begins to hug Roxy, not just in a relieving, loving way, but like a non-threatening monster predator way. Dude takes a couple big Joe Biden whiffs of Roxy's post-remnants of her moist. Roxy is kinda shocked by what is occurring and pushes the growing Doronuma away by complaining about the smell.
Kasai!
Me? Nah, me. Rudy just inhaled a month's worth of Roxy stank, but this ain't no thing for no shame Doronuma, the guy that got her panties in a shrine. Roxy starts to act a bit strangely as she begins to act more formal with Rudy. She thanks him and starts to introduce herself.
No!
You mean yes? Roxy has seemed to not recognize her dear little Rudy, and this makes Rudy's little Doronuma start to shrivel up. Roxy still questions if they ever met before, and Rudy starts to inverse. Blech. What I love here about the hook of the episode is where within the story it will throw some kind of misdirection. You have to play around with the shonen cliches, right? Like, who the hell are you and why are you such a stud? This is a good thing, Rudy. Roxy doesn't see you as a kid anymore. So that means Operation Get Inside Her Panties is still on. Just like that, after the opening credits, the journey through the S-tier teleporter labyrinth continues as the whole crew of Rudy, RuPaul, Geese, Alina Lise, and Taohan march forward with Taohan carrying the almost passed out Roxy back into town. Yet again, Rudy's booty is delaying saving his mother. Sorry, Kazan. Roxy apologizes to Taohan about her stank, and Taohan tells her it's no problem because she's been saving them from their stank all this time too. Roxy still insists that she smells so bad that it made Rudy throw up. Rudy says further that he was just slightly heartbroken that Roxy forgot about his panty saving ways, to which Roxy tells him that she did not forget little Rudy. She's just caught off guard by the great Doronuma. And the rise of the little Doronuma begins to understand that he can become big Doronuma again. And of course, we predicted this like 2 minutes ago. It's like getting out of the friend zone. The crew finally make it back into town with everyone ecstatic that Roxy isn't impaled by some phallic symboled monsters. After a few days rest, Roxy Shisho is all healed up and apologizes for delaying their journey. RuPaul hits the assist that it was his son, the great Rudis Dornuma Greyrat, that sensed the Kami-sama through the cave walls and went bursting through to save her. Roxy goes ahead and thanks Rudis-san for saving her, and wait a goddamn minute. Rudis-san? Call me Rudy or we'll never be clapping cheeks. I mean, I'm still your little Rudy and you're still my sensei. So there's no need to roleplay. You know what they say, married men are more attractive. But Roxy doesn't know that yet. Geese cuts to the chase that they should head back into the teleported labyrinth before the curse prevents Roxy from going back in. Rudy and the others think it may be too soon to get ready within 3 days. But Rudy realizes that this curse is probably just Roxy's trauma. RuPaul hands the labyrinth book to Roxy to have her study, and that everyone will commence their journey through the labyrinth after 3 days. So everyone splits up and the scene shifts to Roxy reading the book. As Roxy is skimming through the book, Rudy continues to be a needy creeper, distractingly walking back and forth, seeking attention like a neglected dog. Then Roxy asks Rudy to help her understand a few things about the book. And the Greyrat Gene's biggest flaw rushes over to do anything he could do for Roxy Shisho. People forget that the regret comes after the post-nut clarity. Everything before is just typical Greyrat. As Quagmire continues informing Roxy, things continue to get more complicated between master and student, colleague and colleague. Do you guys know how many taboos that are crossing these two minds right now? Legends say that a Greyrat may actually hold the world record for habitually stepping over the line. Dornuma keeps fantasizing, thinking about putting little Roxy onto his lap, and Roxy stays blushing looking at Big Rudy because all that labyrinth perverted monster trauma can be broken down by a few pumps for the great Dornuma Greyrat. Rudy plays into the men's trope of not knowing what a chick is really thinking, but all of us folks know she wants some of that. Just before the audience can catch a cootie from the sexual tension, the scene shifts right into Roxy's revenge. The whole squad mows down a group of monsters and Rudy comes cheesing right next to Roxy, always ready to
lose it all, lose it all, lose it all.
We all know Roxy is feeling the tension and reacts just like any other girl will react to a man that wants their walls caved in. Roxy is out panicking and telling RuPaul that she has lost all of her mana and that they should get some rest. Her mana isn't the only thing she's losing. While everyone takes a rest, Geese complains that he wishes the 4th stratum teleportation circle would appear already, revealing that they are already back on the 3rd stratum. And this right here, guys, is about halfway through the episode. Notice that the main focus of the episode isn't so much about saving Kasan and the adventure. It stays true to the Mushoku Tensei formula of being very character centric. The focus is clearly on Rudy Booty and Roxy thinking about psst. And just when I thought I could get away from talking about Rudy caving in Roxy's walls, Geese warns Rudy to not blast through any walls again or we'll all be caved in. I can't help but think that Geese is just a metaphorical machine that is used to say just what the audience is thinking. Because when Rudy blasts a good one, it's gonna be regrettable for everyone involved. Roxy heard Geese talk about caving in walls and then asked if she can borrow Rudy's strong, muscular, and tall back for the rest on. No Greyrat can deny such an easy request and allows Roxy to go back to back. Roxy can't help but already plan their future together as she never thought this adventure between the two would take place. Never mind the in-between plans of saving Zenith and spinning years catching up from years of a supposed trauma of Rudy's mother being teleported. Roxy is already planning out another date to go on an adventure with just Rudy and her. Between Roxy Shisho and Dornuma Greyrat together, there's no need to roleplay, only play in another labyrinth between some cave walls. Roxy and Rudy, Rudy and Roxy. Both names start with an R, so magic is bound to happen. When this much mana comes together, Roxy asks Rudy to explore her caves. Explore some easy caves with her. Just like Rudy not being able to pass up on body heat to body heat, back to back, Rudy is ready to
lose it all.
Roxy, feeling relieved that Rudy agreed, she gets too comfortable and wants to cop a Hirone. The gray rat genetics sometimes talks itself into some trouble when he realizes that it's not his wife, but his future child that he needs to take care of. But like any other gray rat, regrets can wait. The crew teleport their way into the next stratum, and for some reason Real Paul asks what their next plans are, like they didn't have all that rest time to think of one. That must be a gray rat genetic defect as well. Geese says that they haven't hit their limit yet, and Real Paul gives the command to play peekaboo on the 4th stratum before they head back into town. Given Real Paul's demeanor is that of a truly great leader, Doronuma is seriously impressed. Until Teki. Getting right into the action and using your Pokemon fighting knowledge, Rudy tells everyone he's about to use a move called the Stone Cannon, but Roxy stops him short by warning him that these armored soldier monsters use some kind of godlike water spell, and we know that water is bad for earth types. Roxy suggests that they just support and try their best to hold them down. Doronuma tells his father he's gonna Doronuma, and it only makes sense that his name makes these armored soldiers sink into a mud like quicksand. Real Paul and Alina Lise charge these armored monsters, and she tells him that she's going left because she doesn't like holding a long hard sword in her right hand when it's next to some cave walls. Real Paul uses his bravado to tease her right in the middle of the battle, because that's what cool ass dads do. Roxy tells Rudy that they will back the woman instead, and she launches an icicle edge, while Rudy launches a stone cannon that busts through the armored soldier monsters. Clearly, these monsters are quite the upgrade over the previous stratums, as Real Paul gives word that they can't expect to easily handle these 8-ranked NPC monsters. Rudy starts to big up Real Paul even more, even suggesting that Real Paul might even have gotten stronger. But future
Ochi-chan
Gray Rat says that it's more likely that he's gotten weaker. Jokes aside, this is the kind of redeeming character development I love to see from Rudy's point of view. We all know about Real Paul's faults, and that's what makes his character great. But we all know he's been adventuring for a large portion of his life, from commanding a large crew of people for years before he retired. We finally get to see Real Paul go beyond his discount counterpart. It's the redeeming Gray Rat gene, the leader, the warrior, Real Paul Gray Rat. Real Paul puts on a troll face like a proud father would. Real Paul's seriously cheesing because he knows he's showing off for his son, little Doronuma. And Alina Lise can't help but be a little bit giddy about the situation. For you 1% of girls that watch my videos, Real Paul is seriously like most of us dudes. And that's why we love Real Paul on this channel, because it doesn't get more realer than Real Paul. The party finally makes it out of the labyrinth, and Rudy finally finds out what it's like to play an RPG game the safe way by escaping before fully finishing the labyrinth. All of a sudden, Rudy wants to start caring about Zenith's health. Like, is Kasan really gonna be okay? I almost want to throw this goddamn chair. The nerve of Rudy, man. On the other hand, this really tells us how cautious Real Paul is with the labyrinth. He knows how strong and how difficult the inner labyrinth terrain is. This kind of reminds me of Cautious Hero. Are they ever going to bring that back? Also, from Rudy's point of view, this really tells us how much stronger Rudy probably is compared to the others. Rudy is finally showing some urgency to want to save his mom, but it's really from his perspective that the labyrinth is a lot easier to him than maybe for the others, even with the plot convenience of the book. Remember in the previous episode that Rudy did mention that they were going through the labyrinth a lot easier. I know that Real Paul mentioned that the book helps, which it really does, which from the story's perspective, what we're seeing, it really does help them. But this is just another kind of evidence for Rudy's perspective that, hey man, he could probably push through this labyrinth and not really need to take those breaks going back into town in Rappan. So that's just kind of an interesting kind of perspective to see Rudy's growth and how Rudy really perceives himself. So yeah, let's move on. Rudy takes a peek back at Roxy like he doesn't have a clue that she gets nervous and moist every time his dreamy Doronuma eyes gaze at nubile Roxy. He continues further that always escaping the labyrinth is the surefire safe approach. The scene skips ahead to Rudy going shopping with Roxy. They mess around and buy some potions and items needed for the trip into the labyrinth. Then Rudy plays with a sword that would seem perfect for Elena Lise, but it seems they might be a little bit too broke for awesomeness. We need Cliff for this. Rudy and his Shisho go out for some drinks like it wouldn't lead to one thing or another. She informs Doronuma that they were technically at the wind port at the same time. Rudy gives his gratitude to her as she went out of her way to look for his family. It's nice to know that someone cares more about Zenith than Rudy. Of course, Roxy wants to give thanks back to the people that provided a lot for her, like listening to them bang while she just chills in the hallway like a weirdo. Roxy and Rudy continue catching up more. One of the character themes motifs with Rudy has always been his natural talent at learning and doing magic. This still coincides early on from the beginning of the series where it was clear that Roxy was strong, but that Rudy has Isekai MC syndrome by being reborn more talented and intelligent than most of the other characters. Because of Rudy, Roxy became a king level mage using her fundamentals and her experiences with Rudy really helped her grow as a person emotionally as well. Imagine going all the way back to your village where everyone is judging you for your demon autism and special needs. One more time, Roxy tells Rudy, let's save Kasan. The scene shifts right back into the labyrinth where they last left, heading to the last teleportation circle within the fourth stratum. It looks like Rudy and Roxy may have upgraded Elena Lise's weapon anyways, as she checks out her sword after taking down another armored monster soldier. The party makes it all the way through the fourth stratum, but Zenith's whereabouts within the labyrinth still remain unknown. The Taofro root that Rudy and Roxy picked up earlier comes in handy as it seems to ward off many of the monsters on the current layer. Because of how much more prepared it feels like they are, Real Paul gives the command that they will go ahead and keep advancing, with Rudy ecstatic about the decision, and this is where the cheat code of the book and the dangers of the unknown start to unravel in an important plot point. Everyone is starting to feel uneasy about a guardian coming up, so this puts the party slightly on edge for some craziness that may go down soon. Geese mentions that the book pretty much stops at this point of where they're at, in a room with like a fork but teleportation circles instead. Rudy examines all the teleportation circles but doesn't really have an idea where each will send them, as it seems to just teleport them to somewhere random. Roxy asks Rudy if he knows anything about them, the teleportation circles that is. Rudy mentions to Roxy about his side chick Nanahoshi that gave us this. Her entire existence in this fantasy adventure isekai has been about learning about these circles, so it's very likely that she would be able to decipher it. I see you, Rudy, using your side chick to make your future side chick jealous. Nice. Roxy asks if this Nanahoshi was his girlfriend, and of course Rudy tells her, hell nah, I witnessed this. That's a hell of a red flag. Roxy made a mistake and didn't pry further, as she continues to hold on to that hope that Rudy Booty will be hers only. According to the book, one of the teleporters will take them to a trap, while the other two may take them one step closer to Zenith. It's a quintessential triplets but teleporter trap. Without any cheat codes this time, it really just comes down to luck, which is where we know where the cliche goes. Then Geese mentions that their luck really came down to Jizz Lane deciding in these scenarios. In this case, we got no Jizz, but we got a metal diaper Dragon Road, a lolly Shisho, a quack, a dwarf thief, a real paw, and a Doronuma. Who shall decide which teleporter they should take? So this leads Rudy to ask if they can wait just a little bit longer before making a decision. He wants to investigate this even further. It's a decision that may be make or break. If they can bypass this terrible luck, they can honestly get through the labyrinth a lot faster. But Rudy just notices that something just seems really off about the room with the 3 teleporters. Rudy can't quite figure it out just yet as he sits there, cross-legged, and everyone just lounging around and waiting to see what happens. Then, Real Paul does redeeming dad-like things as he steps forward to help to unstump his little Doronuma together. Rudy is starting to come to the conclusion that the route that they ended up in, where these 3 teleporters, just comes down to just chance. But maybe this is just some kind of fake out. Maybe there is a safer location that they are not seeing just yet. Real Paul kind of throws a damper on that thought by having no real evidence that this location is really the dead end, and that they likely have to make a decision right here. After this little conversation about moving on the plot, Real Paul steps into his redeeming dad character qualities, and we focus on the character development. Real Paul gets really close to Rudy to have a legitimate father-son talk. He looks right back at Roxy, cause he knows, and we all know, what's up. That little autistic demon Poontang wants some of that Grey Rat gene. However, Real Paul decides that it may not be a good time to throw this upon Rudy's plate. But Rudy is quick to say that this makes it like a famous last words kind of situation. It really is. Real Paul knows that this important insight into Roxy's pantsu will cause the morale to drop, as people can't really deal with their feelings. In a life or death situation, it will totally throw them off. Then Real Paul starts thinking with his 2 swords, 2 of them, and uses them as a metaphor. My dear Rudy, this is the Grey Rat way. Why have 1 sword when you could have 2? Or maybe 3, or maybe 4. I mean, sword of harems, here we go. Every sword has their purpose and a role to play. I mean, there's elf booty, beast booty, soulless tsundere red-headed booty, special needs nubile demon booty. They're all great if they can stay in their lane. Rudy is stumped and a little bit perplexed, and takes this sword metaphor from Real Paul with a lot of confusion. And this is where we might have to give the point to Hitogami, because the regrets are everywhere right now. Then, before Rudy can really decipher everything that Real Paul was referring to about these swords, Rudy has that main character epiphany. Apparently, Rudy has seen this room before and is starting to feel startled. It flashes back to the time it was just Alina Lise and Rudy walking through the ruins where Orsted's clothes were. This exact room looks just like the ruins room. And that ruins room had something that this room is missing. Stairs. Rudy has Geese check the floor for stairs and if there were any traps. And if there was, Geese would be the first to kick the bucket. But Geese concludes that there are no traps underneath. Rudy, Doranuma blows up the floor and there the hidden stairs lie. Everyone goes one by one, congratulating Rudy on the back, but an unnecessary huge pat on the back from each. And of course, all of those compliments came with some pain, but something else came with a little bit of pleasure. Mushoku Tensei leaning into what it does best, sticking to the characters is what this anime does best, and that's what it did mainly between Rudy and Roxy. In this building regret, there is no other person than Future G-san that knows like how Real Paul knows, like he really knows and has experience. It's hard to not feel like most of the episode was really about this future romantic regret, but before Doranuma knows it, the post-nut clarity is going to be glorious. There are a few things about this episode that has been a motif with Rudy throughout. He's clearly a lot smarter and talented than his perspective is letting on. You really have to look at the other characters and see how they react and judge Rudy. I think that scene when he fought Orsted was to literally ground his character, because it'd be too easy to boil him down to just another OP isekai MC. To be honest, the Roxy and Rudy relationship is probably what everyone is most interested in anyways, and it's probably the most interesting part of the story so far. Sorry, Kasan. We really don't have a villain or something or someone to really cheer against and rally together as a fan and as a viewer and a reader. They've literally been fighting NPCs like this entire time. So it makes a lot of sense to lean into the Real Paul and Rudy relationship, which in turn makes it even more fun dynamic as we really get to see a real father-son bonding time. And I'm sure Real Paul is super happy that his little Doranuma gonna get some more ass. No regrets. 2 swords, buddy. Psst, psst. To be honest guys, animes like Mushoku Tensei and Frieren that focus more on the slice of life, I just tend to enjoy a bit more, but it's a little bit different than say like a Spy Family. Spy Family is really slice of life, but it's not a fantasy isekai and more fun like a jobless reincarnation like a Frieren. The relatability aspects, the adult aspects, and the character dynamics is truly where the characters win you over, and you're always getting these arcs between the characters. There's a rise, there's a fall, there's a dilemma, a situation where they can make a mistake and they overcome that, and they make another mistake and they have to overcome that. This is just great character development from arc to arc, seeing what these characters face and how they deal with it. That's just what makes it so fun to relate to this, and it's fun to see characters build these bonds and build these other aspects to their character that you usually don't get to see beyond their typical archetype. And of course, it's the most fun to see characters make mistakes, because that's something for us to see how they will overcome it. The redeeming Grey Rat gene. That is what I like most about this arc. Psst, psst. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode. I am really enjoying this Labyrinth arc right now. It is totally fun. It's just really awesome to see a father with flaws and have Rudy there to see him like that. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this episode, because the building regret is continuing on. And of course, respect the journey, because we all die anyways. The journey, guys, it's always so much better than the end. So respect it. Alright guys, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusen.com. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys in another video.